Well, good morning, everyone, and a very warm welcome to day 2 of Reimagining Real Estate's Sustainability Summit, the European Perspective. My name's Julia Hirigoyen. I'm the Chief Executive of the UK Green Building Council, and I'm delighted to be acting as your co-chair for the event today. I hope that many of you have enjoyed the conference so far, whether that was the US perspective last week or indeed the day 1 of this particular European perspective only yesterday. From my point of view, this conference is really timely because here in the UK, just last week, our government announced or launched a new Green Homes Grant scheme, which is really intended to support citizens to make improvements, energy efficiency improvements, installation improvements, renewable energy installations on their homes, really aimed at boosting job creation and consumer spending at a time when, of course, we're suffering quite hard from the pandemic, but with the twin objective of driving down our carbon emissions and meeting our legislated target of net zero carbon by 2050. So this relationship between real estate and sustainability is really high up on the agenda right now. Our minds quite rightly are all turned to how we emerge from this pandemic with much more of a green recovery than just going back to business as usual. Now, at UK Green Building Council, we are delighted to be supporting this conference. Not least because the concept of sort of bringing people together for a better built environment is ultimately our purpose. And we're a charity, we're an industry network with a mission to radically improve the sustainability of the built environment. And we have about 450 plus member organizations, all of whom we convene together to achieve that mission. So we often say at UKGBC that we collaborate in order to inspire, enable, and advocate for accelerated leadership and action, primarily from businesses and government, but not exclusively, on topics as wide-ranging as climate change, resource use, nature and biodiversity, health and well-being, and socioeconomic impact or wider social value. We're one of 75 other green building councils around the world. We're all members of a World Green Building Council, and we're really active in that sort of growing and global movement that's looking to address the impact of the built environment and its huge importance in achieving net zero emissions. Here in the UK, the built environment is responsible for something like 40% of our national carbon footprint, 60% of our materials consumption, and 60% of our waste. So, of course, this sector is a huge part of the problem, and it also happens to be one of those asset classes that is perhaps one of the most vulnerable to physical risks from climate change. The flip side to that is that buildings are also a really big part of the solution. And for any of you who have seen or come across McKinsey's MAC curves, these are charts that plot emission reduction measures against their associated costs. You'll know that many of the most cost-effective levers that we could pull to reduce our emissions or to decarbonize our economy lie within the built environment and the whole building sector. The International Energy Agency and the World Green Building Council have worked out the role of the built environment industry in us globally achieving this target of 1.5 degree warming and no more. And the targets are really fairly universally adopted now by green building councils and by nation states around the world. So we know that to achieve net zero by 2050, all buildings, whether new or existing, will need to be net zero carbon across their entire life cycle by 2050. But a more meaningful milestone perhaps is 2030, by which time all new buildings will need to be net zero carbon in their operational energy use, but also substantially less embodied carbon in their construction, at least 40% based on today's figures. So it's perhaps not surprising then that many organizations, businesses around the world, so far largely in the built environment sector, but not exclusively, and increasingly also their clients, occupiers, suppliers of real estate are signing up to a net zero carbon buildings commitment, which has been developed by World Green Building Council in association with others like We Mean Business and the Climate Group. And this The signatories to this commitment really commit to achieving net zero carbon for all the building energy uses that are within their own direct control. But they also commit to advocating for net zero carbon built environment by 2050 throughout all of their activities. So that's with their suppliers, with their customers and occupiers. And there are now over 100 signatories to this commitment and growing rapidly. Over a third of those are here in the UK and again growing rapidly. So by COP26, the international UN climate conference due to be held here in Glasgow in November 2021, we're confident that we'll have many more signatories to that net zero carbon buildings commitment, both here in the UK and globally. And we really want to demonstrate to the world that the built environment sector is genuinely on board with this race to zero. So whatever your role, whatever your industry sector, wherever you're geographically located, if you're serious about sustainability in real estate and net zero carbon real estate, then please consider signing up to this net zero carbon buildings commitment today and join that race to zero. The good news is you're in for a treat today. There's lots and lots of fantastic content for you to get stuck into. I myself had the privilege of interviewing both the Chief Executive for Europe of Lend-Lease, Neil Martin, and Shobi Khan, the Chief Executive of Canary Wharf Group, both two businesses based here in the UK, but also Lend-Lease has worldwide operations, both of whom have set really ambitious targets and commitments on net zero carbon, on sustainability more broadly, and both have really impressive achievements under their belt. So please do tune in for those. I believe they're at 10:40 and 1:30 respectively. I've also had the privilege of chairing a panel discussion on how to improve the sustainability of existing real estate assets with senior executives from Lloyds Bank, Low Carbon Workplace and CFP Green Buildings. And I'm also really excited to hear from the many other fantastic leaders here today, representing organizations as far and wide as the BBC, the Urban Land Institute, PropTech for Good, Deutsche Bank, IKEA, Nuveen Real Estate, and many, many others. So that's it from me, folks. Have a fantastic day. I hope you learn lots and above all, take action. Time is not on our side and we need to act now if we're to safeguard our future. Thank you very much.